6 months after the battle, the Galactic Council convened again in the crystal dome of Nexus Prime. The chamber was notably quieter than before, with many species showing newfound respect for the human delegation. Gone were the dismissive looks and condescending comments that had once greeted Earth's representatives. Admiral Hyeon-Soo Kim stood to address the assembly, his presence commanding immediate attention. The same beings who had mocked humanity's warnings now listened to every word with careful respect. Fellow representatives, Kim began, the recent events in the Terran exclusion zone have raised questions about humanity's role in galactic affairs. I am here today to provide answers. War Commander Brextal sat in the Crimson Hegemony section, his once proud bearing now marked by humility. The warrior who had boasted of conquest now bore the weight of complete defeat. His species had lost face throughout the galaxy, but they had gained something more valuable: wisdom. The exclusion zone will remain in effect, Kim continued, not to protect us from you, but to protect all of you from the necessity of discovering what else we are capable of. The defensive demonstration you witnessed represented a fraction of humanity's actual military capacity. Battle Queen Zixandra clicked nervously in her section. Her swarm tactics, perfected over centuries of warfare, had been countered so completely that her warriors still struggled to understand what had happened to them. Council Speaker Vorthak rose to address the chamber. The events of 6 months ago have fundamentally changed our understanding of military capability in this galaxy. I propose we review the footage once more, so all species may learn from what transpired. The dome above them lit up with recordings from the battle. Coalition ships trapped in gravity wells, weapons frozen in temporal stasis, boarding parties overwhelmed by superior human technology. But the most disturbing footage came after the battle: glimpses of Earth's true defenses, orbital installations the size of small moons, shipyards that stretched across entire star systems, weapons that could manipulate time and space itself, manufacturing facilities that could build fleets faster than most species could crew them. This is what they chose not to use, Vorthak explained to the silent chamber. Humanity defeated 3,000 ships without employing their primary weapon systems. Trade Baron Gulvek shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His merchant fleet had been among the first to surrender, and his crew still spoke in whispers about the human medical technology that had healed their wounds instantly. Technology that surpassed anything known to galactic science. I have a question. A delegate from the Peaceful Worlds Coalition spoke up. If humanity possesses such overwhelming power, why do they remain isolated? Why not expand their territory or impose their will on other species? Admiral Kim smiled slightly. Because we remember what we were before we reached the stars. Humanity spent most of our history fighting ourselves. We know the cost of unchecked aggression, and we have no desire to repeat those mistakes on a galactic scale. Captain So-Young Park, now openly wearing her Special Operations uniform, stood beside her admiral. Her strike teams had boarded dozens of enemy ships during the battle, demonstrating human military capability in the most personal way possible. The isolation serves another purpose, she added. It gives us time to study and understand each species we encounter. By the time the coalition attacked, we had spent 50 years analyzing your tactics, weapons, and psychology. We knew exactly what you would do and how to counter it. The implications sent chills through the assembled delegates. 50 years of preparation for a single battle. Technology developed specifically to counter every possible alien advantage. Strategic planning that anticipated every possible scenario. There is another matter to address, Admiral Kim continued. Several species have requested trade agreements and technological exchanges with Earth. We are prepared to share certain advances: medical technology, agricultural techniques, environmental restoration methods. But our military technology will remain classified. This announcement caused excited murmurs throughout the chamber. Human medical technology could extend lifespans by centuries. Their agricultural methods could end famine on 1,000 worlds. Environmental restoration could repair damaged ecosystems throughout the galaxy. Commander Jae-Sung Lim, the Special Forces officer who had led the boarding operations, stepped forward. We offer this technology freely, with no territorial demands or political strings attached. We ask only that it be used to help your people, not to harm others. The generosity was staggering, but it came with an implicit warning. If humanity could share such advanced, peaceful technology freely, What did their weapon systems look like? War Commander Brextal finally found the courage to speak. Admiral Kim, my species values honor above all else. We fought with everything we had and were defeated completely. Yet you treated our wounded and returned our survivors safely home. Why show such mercy to defeated enemies? Kim's expression softened. Because we understand what it means to lose everything and need a second chance. Humanity has made many mistakes throughout our history. We were given the opportunity to learn from them and become better. We extend that same opportunity to others. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. This was not conquest through superior force. It was leadership through superior wisdom. Humanity had the power to dominate the galaxy, but chose instead to protect it. Council Speaker Vorthak struck his ceremonial staff 3 times. The Council hereby establishes new protocols regarding the Terran exclusion zone. The restricted area is expanded to 100 light-years in all directions around Earth. Furthermore, humanity is granted special status as the galaxy's peacekeeping force. The announcement formalized what everyone already understood. When conventional diplomacy failed, when territorial disputes threatened galactic stability, when aggressive species needed to be reminded of their limitations, the galaxy would call upon humanity. But it would be humanity on their own terms, acting according to their own principles. They would not be conquerors or overlords, but guardians of galactic peace. As the session ended, Admiral Kim made one final announcement. The Earth Defense Force is establishing a new branch, the Galactic Peace Corps. Volunteers from all species are welcome to apply. We will train together, serve together, and protect the galaxy together. The offer was unprecedented, access to human training methods and technology, in exchange for service to galactic peace. Species that had been enemies just months before began considering the possibilities of cooperation. War Commander Brextal was among the first to approach the human delegation after the session. Admiral, I wish to apply for this Peace Corps. My species has much to learn about fighting for the right reasons. Kim nodded approvingly. Former enemies often make the best allies, Commander. They understand the true cost of conflict. As delegates filed out of the chamber, the galaxy's new reality began to set in. Humanity had revealed itself not as another aggressive species seeking dominance, but as the guardians the galaxy didn't know it needed. The Terran exclusion zone remained in effect, but now it served a different purpose. It wasn't a prison keeping humanity contained. It was a sanctuary where the galaxy's protectors could prepare for whatever threats might emerge. And in the depths of space, hidden installations continued their work, building defenses not just for Earth but for every peaceful world in the galaxy, training forces not for conquest but for protection, developing weapons not for aggression, but for the defense of those who could not defend themselves. The coalition had come to conquer a primitive species and claim easy territory. Instead, they had awakened guardians who would reshape the galaxy forever. The irony was not lost on anyone. By threatening Earth, they had given humanity the justification to emerge from isolation and take their place as the galaxy's reluctant but necessary protectors. The warning had been clear from the beginning. Avoid Earth's region. Now the galaxy understood why. Not because humans were dangerous to their enemies, but because they were dangerous to the idea that might makes right. In a universe full of predators, humanity had chosen to be shepherds. And the galaxy would never be the same. The coalition fleet charged forward at maximum speed, desperate to close the distance and board the human installations. War Commander Brextal's warriors were trained for close combat. If they could get aboard those stations, their superior numbers would matter again. Ramming speed, he ordered. All boarding parties to assault pods. We'll take those positions by force. The massive alien ships accelerated toward the human defensive network, their crews preparing for the brutal hand-to-hand fighting that would decide the battle. But as they raced through what appeared to be empty space, something impossible happened. Ships that had been moving at attack velocity suddenly slowed to a crawl. Their engines screamed at full power, but forward momentum simply vanished. Entire formations found themselves trapped as if caught in invisible webs. What's happening to our engines? Battle Queen Zixandra demanded as her swarm ships struggled against the unseen force. It's not the engines, Tactical Prime Nexgol reported, his voice tight with fear. We're caught in gravity wells. Artificial gravity fields throughout this region. Captain Jin Wuhan smiled grimly from the bridge of his stealth ship. For weeks, the Silent Running and dozens of other invisible vessels had been seeding the area with gravitational anomaly generators, devices no larger than escape pods but capable of creating localized gravity fields strong enough to trap entire battleships. Perfect deployment, engineer specialist Haiwan Kang confirmed. Enemy formations are completely disrupted. They're sitting targets now. Fleet Admiral Choi watched the tactical display as coalition ships struggled helplessly against the gravity traps. Phase 2 begins now. The human defensive installations opened fire again, but this time with different weapons. Instead of the molecular disruptors that had vaporized the dreadnoughts, they used precision energy beams that surgically removed weapons and engines from alien ships. Disable, don't destroy. Captain Mi Kyung-seo ordered from Ragnarok Station. We want survivors to tell this story. Coalition ships found their main guns severed cleanly from their hulls. Engine sections were carved away with mathematical precision. Communications arrays were removed without touching life support systems. Within minutes, 3,000 warships became 3,000 helpless hulks. This is impossible, War Commander Brextal whispered, watching his mighty fleet rendered powerless. No species has this level of technological advancement. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from Earth itself. The main viewer activated, showing a simple room with a single human sitting behind a desk. The man appeared to be in his 70s, wearing a plain military uniform with no decorations or rank insignia. I am General Dong-Hyun Kim, Supreme Commander of Earth Defense, the old man said calmly. You have attacked our home without provocation. However, we offer you one final opportunity to surrender. Brextal laughed bitterly. Human, you may have disabled our ships, but we still have thousands of warriors ready to board your installations. Your technology cannot save you from close combat. General Kim nodded thoughtfully. You wish to test your warriors against ours? Very well. The transmission ended and space around the human installations began to shimmer. Hundreds of small craft appeared out of nowhere. Boarding ships that had been waiting in stealth mode. Teleportation technology, Nexgull breathed. They can move through space instantly. The human boarding craft didn't dock with coalition ships. They simply materialized inside them. Captain So-Young Park, now revealed as a Special Operations Commander, led her strike team directly onto the bridge of a Keth Mori hive ship. The insectoid warriors were bred for close combat, their razor-sharp claws and armored carapaces designed for shipboard fighting. They expected brutal hand-to-hand combat against inferior human physiology. Instead, they faced soldiers wearing powered armor that moved faster than insect reflexes, energy shields that turned their claws aside, weapons that adapted in real time to counter their natural advantages. Surrender, Commander Park said calmly, her translator converting the words into Keth Mori clicking language. Your ship is under our control. Similar scenes played out across the coalition fleet. Human strike teams appeared on every major vessel, not to destroy but to demonstrate complete superiority. Alien warriors who had never known defeat found themselves facing enemies they could not hurt, using technology they could not understand. The most shocking moment came when War Commander Brextal, in absolute desperation, activated his fleet's ultimate weapons, planet-killer devices designed to crack worlds open, powered by contained singularities and guided by quantum computers. If we cannot have Earth, he snarled, then no one will. The massive weapons charged and fired, sending beams of concentrated destruction toward the blue planet that hung peacefully in the distance. Energy enough to split continents raced through space at the speed of light, and simply stopped. The devastating beams halted in mid-flight, frozen like insects trapped in amber. They hung motionless in space, their terrible energy contained within shimmering fields of distorted space-time. Temporal stasis technology, Admiral Choi explained over the communication channels. Your weapons are still firing, but their energy is locked in temporal bubbles. The beams will remain frozen for approximately 1,000 years before dissipating harmlessly. The coalition forces broke completely. Ships began surrendering individually as their crews realized they faced technology beyond their comprehension, but the humans showed unexpected mercy. Damaged vessels were tractored to safety, injured crews received immediate medical attention, and surrender was accepted without revenge. Trade Baron Gulvek was among the first to surrender, his merchant's instincts recognizing a hopeless situation. Earth Defense Force, this is Trade Baron Gulvek. My ships surrender unconditionally. We request safe passage to neutral space. Surrender accepted, came the calm reply. Maintain current position while our medical teams assist your wounded. Even Battle Queen Zixandra, whose species had never surrendered in their recorded history, finally powered down her weapons. Human warriors, she clicked over the communication channel. Your victory is complete. We acknowledge your superiority. As the last coalition ship surrendered, space filled with human vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. Ships that had been completely invisible revealed themselves, not dozens, but hundreds of advanced vessels that had been observing the entire battle. War Commander Brextal, his flagship crippled but his crew alive, received a personal message from Fleet Admiral Choi. Commander, your species values honor in battle. You fought bravely with what you had. But understand, humanity has been preparing for galactic conflict since we first left our home planet. This demonstration represents perhaps 1% of our actual capabilities. The communication continued with footage that made Brextal's blood run cold. Massive orbital installations around Earth, each one larger than his entire fleet. Shipyards that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Building vessels that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Weapons that could destroy star systems. Defenses that could withstand supernovas. We hope, Choi's voice concluded, that we never have to show the galaxy what we are truly capable of. The battle was over, but its implications would reshape galactic politics forever. The coalition survivors were treated with dignity, but escorted to the edge of human space with a clear message. Earth's defensive demonstration was a warning, not a threat. The real weapons remained hidden, the true capabilities still classified. As the alien fleets limped away, carrying news of humanity's power to every corner of the galaxy, Council Speaker Vorthak's ship emerged from hyperspace. The ancient being had come to witness the aftermath personally. Admiral Choi, he said over a priority channel, I believe the Galactic Council owes humanity a formal apology. No apology necessary, Choi replied. But perhaps now the galaxy understands why we prefer our isolation. We're not hiding from you. We're protecting you from us. The edge of human space looked completely empty. The coalition fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, expecting immediate resistance from defensive positions. Instead, they found nothing but scattered asteroids and the distant glow of Earth's sun. War Commander Brextal stood on his flagship's bridge, studying the sensor displays with growing confidence. Where are their patrol ships? Their warning buoys? Their defensive platforms? Tactical Prime Nexgall frowned at his readings. Years of military experience had taught him to fear quiet battlefields more than loud ones. Sir, this feels wrong. No species leaves their territory completely undefended. Perhaps the humans are wiser than we thought. Brextal laughed. They know they cannot match our firepower. They are probably preparing surrender terms as we speak. The coalition fleet moved deeper into human space, passing several asteroid fields without bothering to scan them closely. Their sensors showed only ordinary space rocks drifting in ancient orbits. If they had looked more carefully, they might have noticed that some of those asteroids were perfectly round, or that they contained unusual energy signatures. Unknown to the advancing aliens, they were being watched. Captain Jin Wuhan's scout ship Silent Running maintained perfect stealth 50 kilometers from the enemy formation. His crew monitored every communication, recorded every tactical decision. They're not even trying to hide their approach, Engineer Specialist Hai Wan Kang whispered. No combat spacing, no evasive maneuvers, no advanced scouts. It's like they're on parade. Captain Han nodded grimly. They think they're hunting sheep. They don't realize they've walked into a wolf den. Every few minutes, Han transmitted coded updates to hidden relay stations throughout the system. His reports reached Fleet Admiral Choi at Aegis Station within seconds. Enemy formation maintaining course and speed. Choi read from the latest update. No attempt at tactical dispersal. They're following the predicted path exactly. Lieutenant Commander Yu Jin Lee checked her tactical board. All hidden stations report ready status. Weapons charged, targeting computers locked on. Enemy fleet will reach optimal engagement range in 12 minutes. The coalition fleet continued forward, completely unaware that they were surrounded. Every asteroid field they passed contained camouflaged military installations. Every empty region of space hid advanced sensor networks and weapon platforms. Humanity had spent 50 years preparing for this moment. When they first joined the galactic community, human military planners had studied every possible threat. They analyzed alien tactics, weapons, and strategies. Most importantly, they prepared for the day when someone would test Earth's defenses. The preparations were incredible in their scope. Hidden bases throughout the solar system, each one disguised as civilian installations. Weapons that could destroy capital ships with single shots. Defensive systems that could stop planetary bombardment weapons. But the most important preparation was psychological. Humans understood that their enemies would underestimate them. Every piece of intelligence the Coalition had gathered was carefully designed to support that underestimation. "Sir," Battle Queen Zixandra reported from her command ship, "our scouts detect no defensive positions ahead. The path to Earth is clear." War Commander Brextal allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "Prepare the surrender demand. Let the humans know what they face." The message broadcast on all frequencies, reaching every corner of human space. "Humans of the third planet, you are surrounded and outmatched. We offer one chance for surrender. Submit to Coalition rule and your deaths will be swift." For several seconds, space remained silent. The Coalition commanders smiled, believing their psychological warfare was working. Then a response came, not from Earth but from directly behind their formation. Captain Han dropped his ship's stealth systems, appearing on sensors like a ghost becoming solid. His transmission was calm, almost conversational. "Coalition fleet, this is Captain Han of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered restricted space without authorization. Reverse course immediately and leave this system. This is your only warning." The Coalition bridge crews erupted in laughter. One small ship challenging 3,000. The arrogance was incredible, even amusing. War Commander Brextal opened a response channel. "Human Captain, you are either very brave or very foolish. We shall discover which." Han's reply was quiet but carried clearly across all frequencies. "We tried to warn you." The silent running vanished back into stealth mode. For 30 seconds, space was completely quiet except for the hum of Coalition engines and the whisper of solar wind. Then the asteroids began to move. "Contact!" Tactical Prime Nexgull shouted as his sensors exploded with new readings. "Multiple signatures appearing throughout the formation." What the Coalition had mistaken for empty space suddenly revealed itself as the most sophisticated defensive network ever constructed. 27 hidden installations simultaneously dropped their camouflage, appearing on sensors like stars igniting in the darkness. "Impossible," Nexgull continued. "Those asteroids, they're hollow! They're fortified positions." Each hidden base was a masterpiece of military engineering. Built inside hollowed-out asteroids or disguised as mining operations, they had remained completely undetectable until activation. Now they revealed weapon systems that made Coalition technology look primitive. Fleet Admiral Choi's voice echoed across all communication frequencies. Calm and professional. "Coalition forces, you are now completely surrounded. This is Fleet Admiral Choi of the Earth Defense Force. Power down your weapons and surrender immediately." War Commander Brextal snarled. His pride stung, but his confidence intact. 3,000 ships against 27 installations. The numbers still favored the Coalition. "Humans, your tricks are impressive, but you face overwhelming force. All ships, open fire!" The Coalition's first strike was devastating. Thousands of plasma bolts, particle beams, and missile salvos converged on the human positions. The combined firepower was enormous, enough to crack a planet's crust or boil away an ocean. It accomplished absolutely nothing. Captain Mi Kyung-seo watched from Ragnarok Station as energy cascaded harmlessly across their defensive shields. Impact absorbed, shield strength holding at 98%. Their weapons are exactly as our intelligence predicted, powerful but inefficient. Analysis complete, Weapons Officer Taemin Yoon reported. Enemy weapons are using standard plasma and particle beam technology. Our shields were specifically designed to counter these frequencies. Fleet Admiral Choi studied the tactical display as the Coalition bombardment continued uselessly against human defenses. Return fire. Show them what real weapons look like. What happened next redefined the Coalition's understanding of warfare. Instead of matching their massive bombardment with equally crude displays of force, the humans fired precisely. Single shots from each station, each beam carefully targeted at specific ships. 27 coherent energy streams lanced through space. 27 Coalition dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist, Not destroyed or exploded, but completely disintegrated at the molecular level. What was that? Battle Queen Zixandra demanded as her sensors tried to analyze the impossible weapon signatures. Weapons Officer Yoon checked his targeting computer with professional satisfaction. Quantum cascade disruptors functioning within normal parameters. Recharge cycle complete. Ready for second salvo. The Coalition fleet, suddenly missing its heaviest ships, began to scatter in panic. But the humans had planned for this reaction too. Every time a group of ships moved toward what appeared to be a gap in the defensive network, more hidden positions revealed themselves. They're hurting us, Nexgull realized with growing horror. This entire region is one massive trap. How long have they been preparing this? The answer would have terrified him. Humanity had spent 5 decades since joining Galactic Society preparing for exactly this scenario. Every human installation was positioned with mathematical precision. Every weapon system was designed to counter specific alien technologies. War Commander Brextal, watching his carefully planned formation dissolve into chaos, made a desperate decision. All ships maximum acceleration, close to boarding range, will take their stations by force. It was exactly what the humans had expected them to try. 3 weeks later, space around Kepler Station buzzed with activity like never before. The neutral border world had become the staging ground for the largest military gathering in recent galactic history. Ships arrived daily, their crews eager for what they believed would be an easy conquest. War Commander Brextal stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the final vessels take their positions. The sight filled him with pride. Over 3,000 ships floated in perfect formation, representing 6 different species united in common purpose. His own crimson hegemony provided the backbone of the force. Massive dreadnoughts bristled with plasma cannons and boarding pods. Each ship could carry 1,000 warriors, bred for close combat and trained from birth to conquer. The Kethmori contribution was equally impressive. Battle Queen Zixandra commanded thousands of small attack craft that moved like a deadly swarm. Their strategy was simple but effective: overwhelm the enemy with sheer numbers while their larger ships provided fire support. Trade Baron Gulvek had brought the Syndicate's most advanced vessels, sleek ships equipped with stealth technology and precision weapons. Where others preferred brute force, the Syndicate struck with surgical accuracy. The displaced worlds had contributed their desperation. Refugee fleets that had lost their homes to galactic disasters now saw a chance for new territory. Their ships were older but numerous, crewed by people who had nothing left to lose. Even some peaceful species had joined the coalition. The promise of new worlds and resources was too tempting to ignore. Surely the humans would see reason when faced with such overwhelming force. 40 light-years away, Fleet Admiral Daeho Choi watched the coalition gather from Station Aegis. The hidden military installation looked like nothing more than a small asteroid mining operation. Its true nature was concealed behind sophisticated camouflage and sensor dampeners. "Final count, sir," Lieutenant Commander Eugene Lee reported. 3,215 ships. Combined firepower equals planetary bombardment capacity. Choi nodded calmly. At 63, he had spent his entire adult life preparing for this moment. Every human military officer had trained for the day when the galaxy would test their defenses. "Formation analysis?" he asked. "Standard hammer and anvil approach," Eugene replied, studying her tactical displays. "Heavy ships will punch through our perimeter, while fast attack craft swarm around the flanks. They plan to reach Earth within 72 hours of engagement. Have they made formal demands?" "The usual package. Complete surrender, relocation of population to labor worlds, resource extraction rights for the coalition. War Commander Brextal has already claimed Earth as his personal victory trophy." Choi activated his secure communication array. The quantum encrypted signal reached dozens of hidden installations throughout human space. Each receiver was carefully concealed, disguised as civilian research stations or mining operations. "All stations, this is Aegis Command." His voice carried across the network. "Operation Silent Thunder is now active. Enemy fleet will reach outer perimeter in 72 hours. Begin final preparations." The responses came back immediately from every corner of human space. "Valkyrie Station ready for activation. Thor Base reports all systems nominal. Hammer Command standing by for engagement orders. 27 hidden installations, each one a carefully prepared surprise for the approaching coalition. But these were only the obvious defenses, the ones meant to be discovered eventually. Yujin studied her commander's weathered face. "Sir, shouldn't we request support from the colonial fleet?" Choi's eyes held a hint of amusement. "Commander, what exactly do you think we are?" The question puzzled Yujin until she remembered her security clearance. The colonial fleet that most of the galaxy knew about, the exploration ships and cargo haulers, that was just the public face of humanity's space presence. The real military had been operating in secret for 50 years. Meanwhile, aboard the Coalition flagship, War Commander Brextal reviewed the latest intelligence reports with growing satisfaction. "Their defensive capabilities are exactly as predicted," he announced to his assembled commanders. "Exploration vessels, cargo ships, and communication satellites. No military signatures detected anywhere." Battle Queen Zixandra clicked her approval. "My swarm tactics will overwhelm their orbital infrastructure within the first hour. Victory will come swiftly." Trade Baron Golvek nodded agreement. "Our long-range scans show no shield generators, no weapons platforms, no defensive stations. This will be conquest, not warfare." Only Tactical Prime Next Goal, Brextal's chief strategist, showed any concern. Years of military experience had taught him to distrust easy victories. "Commander, doesn't it seem strange that a species would have no defenses at all? Even primitive civilizations maintain some form of military." Brextal waved away the concern. "Humans are a peaceful species, Next Goal. They have grown soft under galactic protection. When faced with real military power, they will surrender quickly to avoid unnecessary casualties." The Coalition fleet began its final preparations. Weapons were charged, boarding parties assembled, and conquest plans distributed. Each species had already decided which human territories they would claim once victory was achieved. None of them noticed the small reconnaissance ship shadowing their formation. Captain Jin Wuhan's vessel. Silent Running had been observing the Coalition for weeks, completely undetected by their sensors. The ship was a masterpiece of human engineering. Its quantum drive produced no emissions that alien sensors could detect. Its hull absorbed radar and energy scans. Even visual observation was nearly impossible thanks to adaptive camouflage that matched the surrounding space. "Their formation hasn't changed in 6 hours," engineer specialist Haiwan Kang reported quietly. "Heavy ships in the center, screens on the flanks, support vessels in the rear. They're not even maintaining combat spacing." Captain Han nodded, recording everything for Fleet Command. "They've never fought humans before. They have no idea what they're walking into." The Coalition fleet finally began to move, leaving Kepler Station in perfect formation. Their course was direct, straight toward Earth with no attempt at stealth or tactical surprise. They believed overwhelming force was all they needed. As they entered hyperspace, confident in their numerical superiority, none of the Coalition commanders noticed the subtle energy signatures their passage left behind. Human sensor networks tracked every ship, analyzed every weapon system, and calculated every possible tactical response. Fleet Admiral Choi received the final reports at Station Aegis. "They're following the predicted route exactly," he told his staff. "Arrogance makes them predictable." "All stations report ready status," Yujin confirmed. "Hidden positions are maintaining full camouflage. Enemy sensors show no detection of our installations." Choi walked to the main tactical display, where a three-dimensional map showed the approaching Coalition fleet. Red enemy markers moved steadily toward the outer perimeter of human space, where blue defensive positions waited in perfect hiding. "Estimated time to contact?" he asked. 67 hours, 14 minutes, came the reply. Choi nodded and opened a final communication channel. This one reached all the way to Earth itself, to military headquarters buried deep beneath the planet's surface. "Earth Command. This is Aegis Station. Package delivery confirmed for 67 hours. Reception committee is ready." The response was immediate. "Understood, Aegis. Show them what happens when someone threatens our home." The trap was set. All that remained was for the Coalition to spring it. The great meeting hall of Nexus Prime stretched out like a crystal dome against the stars. Inside, hundreds of alien species sat in their designated sections waiting for the monthly Galactic Council session to begin. The air buzzed with different languages and the sound of various breathing patterns. Admiral Hyun-Soo Kim sat in the human section, his gray uniform simple compared to the elaborate costumes worn by other species. Next to him, Captain So Young Park studied her datapad with focused attention. At 58 years old, Hyun-soo had seen many of these meetings, but today felt different. Council Speaker Vorthak stood at the center podium. The ancient reptilian being was over 300 years old, his scales worn smooth by time. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of centuries. "We begin today with territorial updates," Vorthak announced. The dome above them lit up with a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Thousands of star systems glowed in different colors, showing which species controlled what regions. The map slowly rotated, showing the peaceful borders and trade routes that connected the galaxy. Most species had learned to live together over the past few centuries. Wars were rare now, replaced by careful diplomacy and mutual trade agreements. But when the map reached a small section near the galaxy's edge, everything changed. A massive red zone appeared around a yellow star, stretching 50 light-years in every direction. Warning symbols flashed around the border. "The Terran exclusion zone," Vorthak said slowly, "remains classified as Omega-level restricted. No ships may enter this region without special permission from this council." A loud snort echoed from the warrior section. War Commander Brextal stood up, his massive frame covered in battle armor. The Crimson Hegemony had conquered 17 star systems in the past century, and Brextal had personally led most of those campaigns. "Speaker," Brextal's voice boomed across the hall, "my species questions this restriction. Our scouts report only primitive technology in this region. Chemical rockets, basic energy weapons, nothing more advanced than what we had 500 years ago." Murmurs of agreement rippled through several sections. The Kethmori delegates clicked their approval, while the trade syndicate representatives nodded their heads. Many species had grown curious about the mysterious human region over the years. Admiral Hyun-soo slowly stood up. His movement was quiet, but somehow every eye in the chamber turned to him. When he spoke, his voice was calm but carried a warning. "War Commander, I strongly advise you to respect the Council's decision. There are aspects of my people that cannot be explained in simple reports." Brextal laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the crystal walls. "Humans, your species joined our galactic community only 50 years ago. You have no military presence beyond your home system. What possible threat could you be to our 1,000-ship fleets?" Captain So-young leaned closer to her admiral, showing him classified information on her datapad. Hyun-soo glanced at the screen and saw weapon test results, casualty reports from training exercises, and footage that would give most species nightmares. "The restriction exists for very good reasons," Hyun-soo replied. "My people do not start fights, Commander, but we always finish them." Several species began talking at once. The Displaced Worlds delegation whispered excitedly about potential new territory for their refugee fleets. The aggressive Kethmori battle queens discussed the possibility of testing their swarm tactics against human defenses. War Commander Brextal raised his armored fist, and the chamber fell silent. "I hereby announce the Crimson Hegemony's intention to survey the so-called Terran exclusion zone. We will claim this region as rightful expansion territory within 1 month." The announcement sent shockwaves through the chamber. Other species quickly voiced their support. The opportunistic trade syndicate saw chances for profit. The Kethmori smelled potential for glorious battle. Even some of the usually peaceful species began considering what they might gain from human territory. Council Speaker Vorthak struck his ceremonial staff against the floor 3 times, calling for order. But the damage was done. The coalition was already forming, with species volunteering ships and resources for the upcoming expedition. As the session ended and delegates began filing out, Vorthak approached Admiral Hyun-soo privately. The ancient being's large eyes showed genuine concern. "Old friend," Vorthak said quietly, "perhaps it is time to lift the classification. Show them what happened to the Ravager fleet 20 years ago." Hyun-soo shook his head grimly. The Ravager fleet had been the last group to threaten Earth directly. Pirates and raiders from 12 different species, over 800 ships strong. They had ignored all warnings and entered human space with intentions of conquest. None of them had survived to tell what they found there. "They would not believe the reports," Hyun-soo replied. "Some things must be witnessed firsthand." Captain So-young gathered her equipment while listening to the conversations around them. Species representatives were already making plans dividing up human territory before they had even seen it. Their confidence was absolute, their arrogance complete. "Sir," she said to her admiral, Should we warn Earth Defense Command? Hyun-soo almost smiled. Captain, what do you think we have been doing for the past 50 years? They walked toward the exit together, passing groups of excited aliens planning their assault on human space. None of them noticed the small communication device in So Young's hand, or the brief message she sent to a hidden relay station 40 light-years away. The message was simple. Package delivery scheduled for 1 month. Prepare reception committee. As they reached their transport ship, Hyun-soo paused to look back at the crystal dome of Nexus Prime. Soon, many of those species would learn why humanity preferred to stay isolated. They would discover why the galactic community had agreed to the Terran exclusion zone in the first place. War Commander Brextal and his allies believed they were planning an invasion. What they were actually doing was walking into the most sophisticated trap ever constructed by any species in galactic history. The humans had been waiting for this moment for decades. Every piece was in place, every contingency planned, every possible outcome calculated and prepared for. Sir, Captain So Young asked as their ship lifted off from the station, do you think any of them will survive? Admiral Hyun-soo watched the stars through the viewport. Somewhere out there, his people were making final preparations for visitors who would not be welcomed. That, he said quietly, depends entirely on how quickly they learn to surrender.